All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Huskers Happy Hour. We are very, very close to actually having an intro theme. It should be done. I tried to get it done in time, and it just wasn't ready tonight. I'm actually uh, taking it on myself. We'll have it for you next week, I promise. Yeah, today was just kind of a multiple disasters. I was fighting technology for a good part of the afternoon, but hopefully we're all fine and ready to go tonight. Let's just jump right into it. I'd like to start just by going over some of the numbers in the Purdue game, and just starting there and comment on those as you will. I'll jump in and read a bunch of them. One thing I felt that I actually heard people like barking a little about Dylan Raiola's game, and he finished with it was probably his worst game of the year. He finished 17 of 27 for 257 yards. I believe that was like 62% completion, which was his worst one of the year. Would have been the best performance by anybody last year. So I feel like we have to throw that in. But one way I want to skew that number a little is it appeared to me that Ryan Walters made a very deliberate decision to just tell his guys to take advantage of college pass interference rules, and if anybody gets open so much as gets a step on you more than 7 yards downfield, take him out. It looked very intentional, and in a way it worked. In the first half it worked. They committed 4 pass interferences in the first half, probably prevented 4 touchdowns or at least 4 long gains, and then the drives fizzled out or we missed field goals. And then I believe they had 4 in the first half, had 1 in the second half. And the crazy thing about it is if you treat those as completions and add those yards in, because each time it just was like a 15-yard completion. Raiola finishes 22 of 32 with 322 yards and close to 70% again, like 68 or 69% completion. And I think he figured that out because he went to that deep well multiple times. And so I felt like it was still a pretty good game. I had this listed later, but one of the weirdest things for me was in the first half, we had 210 yards of offense. Once again, make that 270 if we include all the pass interferences as part of the intentional pass interferences. We're burning them as part of that yardage. So 270 yards and scored 0, scored no points, and didn't turn the ball over either. You usually to get that many yards and not score at all, there's got to be some turnovers in there. What did we have in there? I think we had a shank field goal and then 2 field goals that barely got over our linemen's heads and just hit guys standing there with their arms in the air. And that's so that you had to work hard to do that. I think I made fun of Iowa for having 200 yards of offense in the first half of their very first game of the season and getting nothing on the board. And I'm like, that's just Iowa as hell. Well, karma appreciates Iowa, I guess, or holds a little spot in their heart for them. So there's karma. The Huskers do that. Doggone it. But anyway, our leading ground gainers, or just our leading yardage gainers after Raiola's passing yardage, was Ja'Cory Barney. Not for the first time this year, led the team in rushing. I think it's freaking hilarious that we've had a quarterback lead the team in rushing for about the last 6 seasons, maybe 7, something like that. Or no, not except for the Casey Thompson year. And so we're like, this year we're guaranteeing Dylan Rail is not going to lead the team in rushing. The only way we're going to have a quarterback lead the team in rushing was if Dylan got hit by a bus and Harburg started again. Then that's in play. But we might have a wide receiver lead the team in rushing. I don't know if he's actually leading right now, but I think he's led the last couple of games. So Ja'Cory leads the team in rushing, 4 carries for 66 yards, gets 2 catches for 28 yards, and total of 94. And the guy who actually led the team in yards, and boy, we've been wondering where he was because he sure didn't look like the guy that should have been left at the altar when they were deciding who their top 2 were. I thought Emmett Johnson was probably close to number 1 I thought he was pretty close to Dowdell, and he looked better. Dowdell still looked pretty good in this game. His numbers weren't great, but he still runs hard. But Johnson is just the guy who can get the longer gains, and it's not Ramir Johnson who's been doing it. Also, quit running Ramir up the middle. I know he's bigger than Wandale, but that's not our run it up the middle guy. Okay, I won't bitch about that all night. But yeah, Emmett had 8 carries, came off the bench, had 8 carries for 50 yards, absolutely provided a spark in that second half, and then also caught 3 passes for 48 yards. So he finished with 98 yards and led the team. I think that running back depth chart is going to look a little different this weekend. I don't know if he's going to start, but he probably should. And then Jamal Banks, you got a tight game, a 0-0 game. Our one and done transfer leader, where's one of the single digit numbers, steps up, gets it done. He had 8 carries for 5 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, and looked really good all day. So, props to Jamal Banks. If I haven't mentioned it here before, one of the neat things I found out about him was when he chose Wake Forest, the 2 other schools he was considering were Harvard and the U.S. Military Academy. So he could have been playing for Army or playing 1AA for Harvard. And that strikes me that this is a very, very intelligent kid with leadership built in. So it doesn't surprise me he came in right away, impressed his teammates, got a single-digit number, appears to be one of the big voices in that receiver room. Great job by him stepping up. Now, on the Purdue side of things, the warning bells I rang were, watch out for Devin Mockabee, who hit us for 178 rushing yards 2 years ago when Casey Thompson and Trey Palmer had big games. But I think he must have had 2 or 3 touchdowns, and Purdue upset us like 43-37 or 38, something like that. So they both averaged over 6 yards a carry. Mockabee had been averaging 7.8. Reggie Love had been averaging 6.1. We held them to a combined 23 carries for 74 yards for 3.2 average. That was wonderful to see. I know that Purdue's not the most competitive team in the Big Ten this year, but that was something I really wanted to keep an eye on after they were able to run on us. And by the way, we broke them. We broke Purdue. They fired the offensive coordinator, I think, a day or 2 after the game. So good job, good comeback, Black Shirts. It's not getting easier, but they did what they had to do. I think the total yard, we outgained them 418 to 224. And like I said, with all the interferences, that's closer to 500. We'll talk about the kicking in a minute. Yeah, the penalties. It's like that we took 11 for 94 yards, and Purdue took 13 for 165 yards. That's god awful. And most of theirs were blatant. Like there was one pass interference that was maybe shaky, but that was after 3 or 4 of them, and that guy was barking up a storm about it. But dude, I'm sorry, it's like it was just so blatant what they were doing, and they were just dragging guys down, not really trying to hide it. And then I think they took either 7 or 8 15-yard penalties in this game, which I don't know if that's a record or not. No, I suspect probably that Miami-Texas Cotton Bowl game where they did all the redneck stuff to welcome Miami to Texas, and they took it personally, and they were beating the shit out of Texas so bad that they just literally were taking their cheap shots. They were laying them out after whistles and whatnot, intentionally, knowing there was nothing Texas could do about it. And I think they took like 220 yards in penalties in that game and laughed about it and bragged about it afterwards because they just wanted to shove it straight up Texas's ass. Maybe the times in my life I've cheered for Miami are in the single digits, but that was kind of enjoyable. And that was even before I think Texas was in the Big 12. I hated them even back then. Anyhow, stay on topic, Andy. And then we took 11 for 94. There were some questionable ones in there, and especially when you consider they weren't going to call any holding on Purdue either. There were plenty of you could see him just reaching with the jersey. There was just the constant arm around the necks as they tried to get by. And just a shit show. We have like a 3-headed monster that texts out the Corn Nation stuff. I do most of mine during the game, but somebody else texted one that was saying, hey, NIL is not what's broken about the college games. We need to nationalize refereeing. And I couldn't agree more. Just with it, you hate to go ahead and point the finger and say something's rotten here, but something is rotten here. It's just fairly obvious when, especially, maybe it'll ease up with the 12 teams getting in, but with when 4 teams were getting into that playoff, you saw like certain teams being protected pretty obviously at the end of the year. The one game that still sticks into my mind is 2 years ago when Illinois played Michigan. I think it was next to last game of the year, and had them. And Michigan's drive, the last couple of times Michigan had the ball, anytime it looked like they weren't going to get a first down or they were going to have to kick it away, here came flags, and it just looked like they were red carpeted, at least to the championship game of the Big Ten. But it's getting out of hand. And everybody knows how that I feel like Nebraska is on the shit end of this, and I really don't understand why that we're just constantly on. It's not like they don't even out. Everybody's like, hey, they stink, but everything evens out. It doesn't. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than the Big Ten. I believe it was Nate that probably popped that on there, and he couldn't be more right. We need to nationalize refereeing and take the conference issues out of it. There'll still be enough problems, but that will take one of the stinkier things going on out of play. John Bullock. Well, first let me talk about Sayre Wright. He's been in there playing since Tommy Hill's been out, and for the second game, he came in, and he's a cornerback that likes to tackle. He led the team in tackles. He had 5, I believe he had 6 against Illinois, and he broke up 2 passes. I'm sure they were going after him. He's passing the test so far. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Because you got Tommy should be coming back. I don't know if they've still even said what's really wrong with him. Feel free to comment if you've heard. And then we also have Bly Hill, who's coming along and was thought to be fighting for a starting job when he got injured in the spring game. But John Bullock, once again, 4 tackles. I believe like 5 led the team, had a tackle for a loss. And then, this is the only thing he hadn't done this year. He picked a pass off and jetted in with it 29 yards for the touchdown. He's just looking fast. I don't know if they talk about adding miles per hour. I don't know if they've added miles per hour to his speed, or if he's just got everything flat down with this system and he's just blasting in with confidence. Whatever he's doing, I don't think linebacking is as big a problem as some people are making out. I'm still kind of wondering if it's just the size we give away with a 3-3-5 regular set. And I feel like most of the tackling issues have been farther down the field than linebacker. Anyway, the first downs, we out first downed them 25-12. And if weird stuff didn't happen in the first half, I think that's another that should have been another 40 points the offense put up. That's kind of been my mantra, that we have. I believe we've got a 40-point offense. Now they've got to start doing it, whether it's the defense needs to get the other team off the field. And they did it this time. I believe Purdue had 3 drives where they went about 50 yards, 6 to 9 plays, 3 and out, all but one other drive. And that one was like 6 plays and done and lost, like 6 plays and lost yardage overall. So yes, it's Purdue, but yes, they took care of business. They didn't look too shaky. Like I said, they shut down the running game, which should have been like their only successful thing. No problems with the defense. So those are the numbers that kind of jumped out to me. Let's see. Let's get to some comments here and see what you guys are saying. Okay, well, Pit Snipe Husker has showed up ready to go. Gentlemen, got new smoke today. Stoned as Hogan's goat. Seriously, toes tingly toasted, barely hit it. And Highlander needs an address. Aaron came down And hey, yeah, absolutely, potheads share.
There's a problem. Please try again.
Holy cow! And Siri's trying to talk to me. I don't know what Siri was. That was my phone talking to me. Didn't like, I guess, something I said here. Tiger Shark Tiger. Good evening, Andy Danger Ketterson. Nice. So everybody's here. Many wants to know what's getting out of hand. Well, everybody's getting stoned. I didn't get the. I'd have headed down and gummied up or something, I guess. Let's see. Oh, reffing. Yeah, it's you can't really not talk about reffing when they roll up 259 yards of penalties in a game that really didn't seem to be that out of hand, except for all the intentional PIs. It's like this has just been a weird 2 weeks. Last week we had Bert having the team Bert 3 timeouts, a half weren't enough, so he took 7 or 8 more with faked injuries last week. This week was Ryan Walters was nobody's ripping the top off our defense. We're just going to tackle them and take our 15. I think in certain places I was going, you know what, it's time for college just to get the NFL rule and not and get that out of there. Let's see what else. Yep. John the Beast, Aaron Kane, John the Beast Bullock, certified hitman. Now, full disclosure, I got to watch Bullock play a lot in high school, and on the prep team that had AJ Rollins, I never even noticed. No offense to AJ, I just didn't notice him that much. But Bullock was just the most violent guy on the field in most games he played in, and he was just undersized. And now he's like 220, 225, and it's just like coming back for that last year. One of the best decisions I think he could have made. I know that Matt Rule is pressed he can be an NFL linebacker. That remains to be seen. I always recommend these guys that, especially if they had that COVID year, take that extra year and play, because of something Grant Wistrom said once, where he talked about both, and Trev Alberts had the same feelings as well. Is he just said the NFL game, it's just not at all like the college game. He says that's the last time you truly have fun playing the game, with your buds. The NFL is a business, so that they still try, they'll try to get some team spirit and that kind of thing going, but they let in no uncertain terms, you are getting paid to do a job and you are an employee, and it's a business. And he says, you can't put a money value on it, because everybody's like, hey, get out early and make the money. And I believe he left early, and I know Trev did, and they both wish they had played one more year, because they were just like, they didn't know how much of the fun was going to go away. And I hope John Bullock is having some fun. Okay, James Boardman. Tommy has plantar fasciitis, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of guys having that. I just can't remember if that's the kind of thing that keeps them out for a week or two or keeps them out for a month. Let's see. Andy's comment about, well, there's always good drugs to try after John said life was over, as he knows that was classic. Tonight's drug night. Yep, here we go. Ken Delaney. Special teams seems to be a constant issue. Let's just go ahead and check this off and talk about it a little now. What in the hell with the kicking game? I mean, let's face it, Alvano's been better this year, but I think he had a short miss. He was very shaky as a freshman. Last year was a disaster for our kicking. Bushini was, I believe, the number 13 punter out of 14 last year. He had some shank issues, and Alvano was dead last in kicking. And now it's looking like he's the much better option. I know we're talking about the holds again, but even the one that hit the ground, it looked like he still got it up. I don't know. All I saw was 2 in a row barely get over the line, and just guys with their arms in the air knock him down. And then he herky jerked one left the first time. It was the funniest text I got was after the 3 misses. I was like, no more field goal tries. We go for it on 4th down and just kick extra points. And I got it back. I got back on that one. Screw extra points. Go for 2. And then I remember when we had a 1st and goal on the 7, or maybe it was a second one on their 7, And I got the text that just said, "Hey, we're almost in field goal range." And here we go again. And this kid supposedly had, some good bona fides that he redshirted so he could take a crack at Power Five. So I don't know. I don't know what you do. Matt Rule says you can't really change anything. It's like he makes the kicks in practice. I expect him to make them in the games. And when he's the number two, I don't know if Bashini has any, kicked, like, did the punting and kicking and specialized in punting in college, but it was really, I'm about to go, can he be any worse? Let Bushini try. But then he's the holder, so now who holds? So yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's hear some thoughts on that. Special teams are a constant issue, and it appears the return game really isn't there. Castaneda can catch it. He's trying to make returns. The kickoff return, they're not going to kick it to Barney. I think they figured that out. And when not Barney tries to return it, we end up on like the 19 or the 20, and so we're better off just letting those sail over our heads. Bushini's punting has improved a ton. I know he only had like a 39-yard average, but I think two of his four is when we were in their the first half, when we're driving in their territory and stuck with him punting from like the 40 or something. So he had to boot little 20-something yarders inside the 20. So it wasn't like he had a shank day. It was the circumstances. Siri was dialing my dealer. I don't have a dealer. That's why I said gummies. I'm a very good boy. My dealer is the bottler of Sailor Jerry, whoever that distillery is. So Tiger Shark Diver, who might be on his little smoke here. My cat got into a fight with the neighbor cat tonight instead of me. Almost got into another scrap with him during the first half of the Purdue game. He's a big Husker fan, so he goes and fights with the neighbor's cat. Pit Snipe Husker. Andy, seriously, you suffer through Husker games sober. Why the fucks wouldn't you put a buzz on for Tuesdays? Not the worst idea. Not the worst idea. I might have to give that. And I was not sober for this one. I since it was a road game, I did my recap from the bar. Todd Wolverton of Monday Night Therapy didn't live too far away, so he joined me and took a picture of us. I should have copied it in here because I was putting on my I'm working face, and he's like apologizing. I'm like, don't apologize to me. Everybody there expected me to work the TV. I'm just trying to get Peacock on, because Peacock, I think it was an issue where they've got 4 TVs and one person's individual account or something like that. And so, and I was getting it with my phone and my iPad because I share Peacock with Miley, and that's Miley and Connor's account. And I was being told I couldn't get on because too many devices were in use. And then in the bar, we had all 4 going, and then the front one kicked out, and then that kicked back on, and the back one. They've got like 4 really nice big screens in there in Tigers, and 2 of the 4 in the back kicked out. And it was like, God, we hate Peacock. But yeah, I was after in the second half, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I came in there early to get pre-writes and stuff knocked out and get everything set up, and and then I'm like, it's the second half and I'm not drinking, and this is just stupid. This is what's wrong with our offense. So our offense kicked in when Sailor Jerry kicked in. So it's not a dry thing. Pit Snipe. I'll try and be better. Yeah, how about Bushini tackling like a madman, doing his Pat McAfee impression? That was nice. What was Pat McAfee? I actually saw people think like, oh, this is just a guy, putting on this weird persona to do his pod, and it got him on ESPN, and he needs to settle down. Look on either TikTok or YouTube for a Pat McAfee like montage. This guy's been nuts. He was one of those punters that like to try and wipe people out. He'd do goofy things because he did kickoffs, and he did goofy things on onside kicks, and he'd do like the one of the wrestlers has the goofy walk, and he'd just be out there doing everything. Yeah, this guy's been nuts his whole life, and if ESPN's going to put him on, there you go. But yeah, Brian Bushini gets a couple of hits in. Good for him. Now, the only thing is, this is the kind of thing that can drive you a little nuts as a coach, though. As fun as it is, I do want to put in a caveat here. As bad as special teams is going right now, he's the one good thing. Do we really want him getting hurt? Funny story. Sam Cook, the Nebraska punter who punted forever for the Ravens. Well, he was an all-state. He was the first team all-state linebacker, and he gets up with the Ravens. And I guess one of his first punts, he goes he's like 220. He goes steaming downfield, lays the guy the fuck out, and the coaches were just like, "Oh God, no! We only have one of you. We just have one. You can't go around hitting people." And so yeah, there is that to take into effect. I did enjoy it though. Good call, Minnie. Tiger Shark Diver. Bullock looked like a running back during that return. He did. He flew up that field like he knew what he was doing. Andy, did you hear Tony White say during media today? Rule took a look at Bullock and said, "Move him to linebacker." Now our leading tackler. Well, I think he came as a linebacker, but I think they made him a safety, maybe because of his size. But I was pretty sure he was playing linebacker in the spring games before, while Frost was still there, because they'd been getting his weight up to about 215, 220 before Rule got into town. But yeah, now our leading tackler, and he started, I think, the most games of any of the backers last year because Reimer and Henrich were hurt a lot. So I don't know, but we all love the walk-on story, and like I said, extra fun for me because I got to watch him play a lot in high school. Let's see, what do we got here? Yep, God bless Bashini. It ain't a great thing that everybody else was useless, but good on him. That's good. Then somebody talking me to make a run to the Missouri candy store. James Boardman said that. I think I know he was talking about, and it wasn't the fireworks, but I love it. Missouri fireworks, Ozarks, gas station, porn shops, and weed. Oh yeah, you get down there. You get down anywhere there's mountains and without snow on them, and the hillbilly comes alive. So this is interesting, and we'll talk about it a little more, but keep this in mind. Rutgers is number 98 in rushing defense, number 12 in running offense. So stop the run the ball. Yeah, we'll talk about that more because we'll talk about Rutgers and Indiana. Yeah, stop the run the ball. Yeah, medical marijuana is on the ballot this year in Nebraska, and I know that because my phone I think I finally got all the numbers blocked. But yeah, it's like, look, I'm voting for it. I've already signed your petitions. You're good to go. Go. Now leave me alone. I wish there was a way to get on the leave me alone list. Let's see. It said, I didn't vote for it here in Arizona, but it passed a few years ago. No difference, just a shop every mile or so. And hey, TV series recommendation. If you haven't watched Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone, great show. I always forget the actor's name, and a friend of mine gets mad. One of the other actors in it was the guy with the Canadian maple leaf on his chest in Knocked Up, and they were always making fun of him. And no, he was the one who grew the beard. I take that back. He's the one that grew the beard. Well, Tulsa King is Sylvester Stallone is a mobster who does like a mobster captain who does 25 years in jail because he won't give anybody else up. And so he comes out of it, like Stallone, he's in his 70s, goes back to New York, expects a little piece of the action for being a good soldier. And they basically say, hey, we want you to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, start finding a way to make some money and start sending us our cut. And so, Piss doesn't begin to describe how he feels about that. But he goes to Tulsa, and the first guy he runs into is the dude I was telling you about. And he's running a weed shop in Tulsa, and he basically comes in and informs him he's going to be his protection and be paid. And then finds out this guy's just making money hand over fist and just keeping it all hidden in cash. And so Stallone becomes like, he brings the mob. He starts the mob in Tulsa, and it's like him, the weed shop owner, a bar owner, and just gets his own little gang going to start selling this or that and protection for this or that. And Stallone's pretty damn funny as just as like a bitter old mobster. I highly recommend it. Not everyone likes it. I like, if it's your cup of tea, you'll know, you might give it a try. Season 2 just started. Wow. I know I did not see I'm wearing a wedding ring. You know what that makes me think of is Tom Cruise playing volleyball in the original Top Gun in jeans with a watch. First of all, I start sweating miserably just watching that scene. I can't imagine anything I'd rather less be doing on a hot day than physical activity in jeans. And then he's playing. I mean, that watch just had to be pretty much shattered and useless. You're gonna hit that watch a few times by mistake. So no, I didn't see Bashini rolling onto the field with a wedding ring. Might just want to put that one in the locker. Yeah, Minnie says give Bashini a black shirt. Well, Sire Wright gets his first. Then we'll start talking about Bashini. It's getting out of hand already. Uh-oh. Greg with the wrenches in. Here we go. Greg, were you in early? I was just talking about how Dominic Raiola really had a better game than he got credit for, and really didn't deserve some of the mild crap he got. But we might talk about it again just to annoy you. TSD says Matt. I assume he's going for Pat McAfee. Has had ADHD since the early 2000s. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Some people prefer Sailor Moon Pit. Sailor Moon. Okay, Pit Snipe. Gotcha. Yeah. I see. I think he was a safety first, but I thought he was already at linebacker before Rule got here. I guess I can check the old rosters easily enough. Pit Snipe's already there. Arrived as a linebacker, talented, fast. They wanted to. Yeah. Well, they got him on the field from the jump on special teams, and then it was just a matter of getting him big enough to play linebacker. Yeah, I think the Bullock brothers are my favorite current brother duo on the Huskers. Such cool. Are there any other brothers on the Huskers this year? I mean, I'm sure there probably is. They're just the only one I know of. So yeah, out of one. They're my favorite until we find a second. And to be honest, they're still probably my favorite. Alex Bullock had a hell of a block. I don't know if you caught that. It was on one of the left sweeps, and he actually took two guys out. He blocked one guy, knocked one guy out of the play, and then dove and put a body on the other guy that allowed that left side to spring open for the touchdown. Very good. Yeah, Tulsa King, Taylor Sheridan. That guy, man, he just must write some more. And he is enjoyable. Hell or High Water, still my favorite Taylor Sheridan movie. Yep. I actually used the old man in a column last week that I did on defense, just talking about how I won't go into it. If you want it, read last week's 24-hour rule. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh God, the Mazkua brothers. Well, yeah, I checked. He's still on the roster, so, and they're still keeping quiet. And it's not like legal, because then somebody would have dug up the arrest report, or that would have gotten out. You just hope it is actually something serious, like an actual problem that he needs time away for, and not he's like going to try and dive out and transfer again. He's throwing a fit, which I wouldn't understand that, because he was starting. So I don't know. Hopefully, I'll just say this. Hopefully we get answers sooner rather than later. Okay, here we go. Vincent Shavers had an insane linebacker play. Tiger Shark saying, watching as a former linebacker, he got cut blocked, got up and made a tackle for a 2-yard gain. Coaches had nothing but great things to say about Vincent Shavers in fall camp. They were saying he's going to be on the field this year, and he is on the field this year. We got a lot of true freshmen. I mean, Raiola and Barney, obviously, but McGahee's been getting in there. Shavers has been getting in there. I'm trying to think of who else. There's already no running backs, and the receiver. Oh, Carter Nelson's been getting in there. But yeah, that I don't know if that. I think that speaks more well to our recruiting than it does to being soft on the older end of that roster, because I still think we've got solid guys up there. These guys are just forcing their way onto the field, but through their play and through their effort. I mean, Ja'Cory Barney's effort, Rule has singled out a couple of times how he's just one of those guys with the engine that doesn't quit, never stops working, never stops competing. Says he's the one guy he has to tell him to slow it down occasionally, and said everybody else needs the occasional, come on now, pick it up. No big deal. Because he's the one that's like, okay, take it easy. Here we go. Maz is just chippy with coaches and teammates. He's second string now, according to Rule. Okay. See, because of today, usually this is where I kind of catch up on the second round of press stuff, and I just didn't have a chance to read it today, so that's why I love you guys. Carter Nelson on the goal line. Because he high jumped 7 feet when he was like a sophomore or a junior in high school. So I just think the days of going over the top might be over. Just nobody's really allowing that anymore. And all they did was like the defense. I think for that to happen, you've got to go low. The offensive line really has to go low because you want a pile that can be jumped over. And these guys, I think, block more straight up on running plays than really getting down. And I don't know, if cut blocks are part of it, but I don't know. We'll see. Oh boy, from what I've heard, the Mazkua incident could have been criminal. Thankfully, it's not, I guess. So, interesting. Well, I'm not sure. He didn't. He went out. He went out and came back in, and he had a pad on, I thought. So I don't know if he just bopped his kneecap or something, but I didn't think he was out. I remember they let it. We were getting a little irritated because we saw him limping, and we were like, "Hey, he's limping. Get him off the field. Get somebody else in there." And they did, but then I thought he came back fairly quickly. We'll find out more as the week goes on. They like to keep their injuries close to the vest. Frost liked to do that too, but Frost liked to make a big deal about why he was doing it, and Rule just kind of doesn't tell you anything. And so, anyway, let's see. Let's talk about the defense bounce back there. We went into that a little bit. Like I said, I think they did the thing. Propel time. I think they did the things we wanted to see them do against Purdue. They weren't the problem in the first half. Even the offense wasn't the problem. It was just goofy penalties and the kicking game, and then just things were fizzling. Maybe it was, first half, that phantom offensive pass interference on Fedoni took 7 off the board. I don't know. And then we came out second half and literally scored on every drive. They sandwiched 2 Purdue like clock eating drives. Like Purdue came out, had a long drive, kicked a field goal, and then we go, and then it goes touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown, interception. And then they had a long drive at the end to get the touchdown that made 28-10, made it sound closer than it was. So they got their job done against Purdue. And so my question now is, the next 2 games don't sound scary. You look at where they are now, and it's even goofier that people are like, hey, we're going to be 7-0. Honestly, if we come out of these next 2 games 1-1, I'm sure I'll think the sky is falling after the loss, but in hindsight, I probably won't be that irritated. We're 5-2 and split with what is right now 2 undefeated teams. Rutgers is 4-0, and their last 2 victories are over Virginia Tech and Washington. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about there is Washington, I think, outgained them like 511 to 280, somewhere in there, 500 something to low 500 something to 200 something, and Rutgers won by 3 points. Okay, that might be the reason, because what did I title this? How the hell are we favored by 6.5? It's still kind of a head scratcher. All Rutgers has done is won these close games. I guess we haven't looked as bad as we probably think we have. It just, the way we lost the Illinois game, getting shoved around in the fourth quarter, was a bit much. And I had some people go, hey, we didn't get shoved around. And I saw where Steve Sipple, in one of his columns, said he took some grief for saying they got pushed around. And he goes, well, then Matt Rule's quote, though, was, we were not the more physical team at the end of the game. So that's from the coach. And if you don't think he's sending a message by popping that off in public a little bit, yeah, he because he just stated it matter of factly. It is what it is. Don't argue it. Don't argue it. Fix it. But anyway, yes, 6.5. I just think, oh man, I don't know that it's one of those point spreads where I'm going, hey, do the bookies know something that I don't, or don't fight the bookies on this one, because everybody's like, it's easy, oh, take the money. This is funny though, because you think of them as that hard-nosed team, and they're horrible against the run. And let's see, and here's Indiana. Indiana's 5-0 now. They haven't played a very tough slate yet. I've actually taken to calling them Indiana / James Madison, because Signetti brought so many James Madison transfers from there when he took the Indiana job. But you got to remember about James Madison. They were ranked last year. They're Division I. They were ranked and went to a bowl game, I believe. Or did they have to sit out one more year because you're not allowed? I can't remember if that was them or not. But yeah, Madison. that was a tough team. If he brought some quality players, and he brought the starting quarterback. We'll talk more about them next week. But geez, if you get a chunk of James Madison, you improve Indiana a great deal. Now the only thing is, they really haven't beaten. They beat UCLA. They give UCLA a thumping, but UCLA not looking good. And then they beat Maryland, but I just don't think Maryland's that good this year either. So I don't know. Right now they're ranked. So in 2 weeks, if they go in 6-0, we could. Here we go. Time to break the streak against our losing streak against ranked teams. What is it, like 22 now? That'll be interesting. But now a funny thing happened on the way to the Rutgers game, and it's like talked about him a little in the numbers at the beginning. How about Emmett Johnson? Am I alone in thinking he shouldn't have been one of the two left out? I mean, Emmett, man, I thought he looked like our most explosive back in the early going. I understand Dowdell. Dowdell was making more physical runs, but Johnson just seems to find the hole better, burst through, and get in. And he's the one, like they talk about, if you get 5 yards downfield, we want you 12 or 13 yards downfield. We want you to gain yards against the next level. And he seems to be the best at that. And I don't know. I'm going to be really surprised if they haven't moved Ramir down a spot. I know he's, a COVID senior and all that, but he hasn't been. I just don't feel like he's getting the explosive runs, and he did get robbed of a touchdown. So I don't have a problem with him in there. It's not a drop Ramir thing. It's this guy's earned the shot thing, and he did it last year, and he's done it again this year. It's time to give Emmett some carries. And I think I saw a comment somewhat to that. I don't know. We'll get to that. And yeah, I just want more of Emmett in there. And that's pretty much that. Oh yeah. Dominic Raiola actually had some people griping. This kid's having a bad game. And I addressed that in the numbers at the beginning, what they look like if you tack on all the pass interference calls. Yeah, my thought is this. Yes, well, was it his worst game of the year? Yes. If that's his worst game of the year, it's going to be a really good year. If 17 of 27 for 257 and touchdowns, the off night, we're going to be fine. I just enjoy watching him just steer the ball in there. I can't think of a better way to put it. We have not had a quarterback with this kind of touch since ever. I mean, seriously, when I was on the podcast a couple weeks ago before Illinois, the voice of college football with Mike Rogers, and he literally, I didn't want to sound like Johnny Oldfarts, like, oh, it's been a while. And in my head, I was thinking Ferragamo. He goes, what, Vince Ferragamo? And I'm like, yeah. And I don't think people remembered Ferragamo was a guy who was just lighting up, the sky for close to 300 yards a game every game. You remember him more with the Rams, I think, than Nebraska. And I think at one point, and somebody older than me might remember for sure. Was he actually splitting some time? Was he the one splitting time with Randy Garcia? Because that was like 11, and that was a couple years before I got here, so I only vaguely remember that. But yeah, I would probably say just for NFL comparisons, it'd probably have to be Ferragamo, because after that forever our quarterback was the runner, and then when we went NFL, NFL sets and stuff under Callahan, I wouldn't put any of those guys as having the kind of touch Royola does. Oh, who was Jerry Jones guy? That quarterback we had that got drafted in the 7th round, played for Riley, but loved to chuck the pick sixes, and then I think he was in. I can't remember. He transferred here, but I just remembered the story of Jerry Jones at the Senior Bowl with the other GMs, and he came into the game and he goes, "Oh, watch pick six coming." And sure enough, he threw a pick six in the Senior Bowl, and Jerry just went, "I still got it." But yeah, I don't think we've ever had touch like this. We've sure never had a freshman with that kind of composure, except for Frazier. And even then, Frazier was getting there. He was getting in there running the ball. He wasn't doing a whole lot of in the pocket. But yeah, it's just nuts, the things he sees. That like we talked about it last week, when he overthrew Lindenmeyer to the left, and then Satterfield was saying, "Hey, thing was, it was supposed to be like he was supposed to look for the fullback, but he actually saw Lindenmeyer with nobody near him and turned and made that throw." And he's just like that. He goes, "That's unbelievable vision." He goes, "The play that he's supposed to be looking for first really isn't even in that sight line, and he caught it, didn't hesitate, let it go. In a perfect world, he catches it, but you really don't want to get on him for that." So anyway, Greg, that was for you. Your pump Raiola's tires. And then we'll hit the quotes here for a bit, or the comments here for a bit after this. But I got to tell you, and yes, many refs, my favorite quote of the week was, here's Matt Rule, who's saying he's sick of this shit. He did not. I think the line I saw is he declined to criticize the refs, but then went into it, goes, "Well, somebody's got to fight for Nebraska." He's like, "Somebody's got to fight for these kids." He goes, "I did it because I wanted these kids to know I'm fighting for them." He said he didn't mean to get the penalty. He said he thinks it's his 3rd sideline penalty since he ever started coaching, but he didn't sound like he regretted it too much. And I'm telling you what, I was making the comment earlier in that game, they're turning him into Pelini. You might see the hat toss this game. We might get there. I don't know. We might get to a Matt Rule hat fling before this one's over, and all of a sudden all the Pelini haters will come back out. This guy, he's not Tom Osborne enough. But yeah, I love that quote though. He's like, "Oh no, I'm not complaining about the refs at all." Anyway, about that time I was yelling at him, I believe we got to fight for him. I fight for the kids. Love it. So that was my quote of the week. Let's see what we got here in our comments. Emmett Johnson needs 18 carries. I wouldn't mind it, but I'm telling you what, at least he got 8 this week. I think he's earned about 4 or 5 more than that at the very least. And I thought I saw, it was Pitt's night. I think Emmett has his first start this week. Wouldn't shock me. And Manny says, he's earned it. He's earned the carries. I think he's earned the start. It wouldn't be a slam on Dowdell. Here's Tiger Short Giver. I do like Dowdell, but I'd like to see how Gabe Irvin does with real carries on short yardage. Yeah. I don't know. I just think like that's the second knee surgery, and he just might not have that burst anymore. We'll see. Let's see. Yeah, Paul Dalen, Virginia Tech did lose to Vandy. Vandy and Rutgers, but I think in all these games though they've been like pretty tight with the spread. So decent team. They're definitely not. The Mike Vick. Those Virginia Tech teams that seem to always go like 9-3, 10-2. Let's see. Yeah, we have an offense easily capable of scoring 40 points a game, says Braska Rascal. Welcome, Braska Rascal. But crazy penalties and special teams holding us back. Yep, that is it in one sentence, pretty much. Can't argue with that one bit. Only favored Rutgers, UCLA, and Wisconsin, according to ESPN Analytics. I'm assuming you're meaning for the rest of the year. And that sounds about right. It toughens up. Did you notice in the second half our young players on D. Elrin, Judy Princewell, Lenhart on the edge? I noticed they kept Bullock in there. I saw it, McGahee getting there again. So I thought at the end when Purdue did drive for that touchdown, I think they still had a few of the starters in. So, well, they were still full starters wanting that touchdown. Yep, Minnie said, I stole Minnie's thunder. I love Gabe Ervin. I just don't think he has the speed back. That guy has so much heart, and I hope he gets his chance. Paul, I do. I love Gabe Ervin. If it doesn't work out, I will always remember Gabe fondly. He was just hitting his stride in that Oklahoma game when he had the first injury. Was it 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and just felt horrible from him. Paul Dalen, UCLA is awful. They are not good. Wonder what happened to Jacob Hood's development on the O-line. Georgia transfer and massive. Yeah, 6'8", 350. Well, he was only a redshirt freshman last year, but yeah, I would think it might be a little concerning that he hasn't, moved on to the 3D as a sophomore with that size. I'm just wondering if, wonder if Georgia told him we don't see it happening for you, and there might be a reason. Did anybody watch the Alabama-Georgia game? And I only bring this up because they have an All-American lineman whose name escapes me, but he was injured for that game, and he was on the sideline, and he just has the Kentucky waterfall and the mustache. And you could tell, and the expression on his face was not a happy one. He wanted to be in that game in the worst way. But, I mean, let's just put it this way. Here he is just, rolling that Joe Dirt look. And somebody put a Reddit comment up. Is it particularly witty? No. But it was simple and to the point. It simply read, "This guy fucks." And then the comments took over. The first comment said, what was it? I've never seen a Trans Am in human form before, and it's glorious. And then it was just off and running. It was just the funniest thing of the night. And they kept showing him over, like it was almost as if Brent Musburger was in the booth and this guy was AJ McCarron's girlfriend, because only except it was just like somebody was just having a love affair with the Joe Dirt look, and they showed him a ton, and then that post happened, and sometime, because that game, my dad and uncle went to Georgia, as I've said before, so that game was brutal. They're down 30-7 at the half, and then they get a couple of touchdowns, and I go, this is going to be worse than getting beat like 52-10. We're about to come back, take the lead, but do it with a couple minutes left, and that'll be game. And we did it, and they scored one play later, and then Georgia actually drives back down the field, and Carson Beck underthrows his third interception of the night. Let's just say thank goodness for the big boy on the sideline. He gave me a smile when I wanted to cry. So I believe, I know it's Ramir's last year. Is it Gabe's too? Because I couldn't remember if Gabe came in after COVID or not. This might just be his fourth, because I thought his first game was in 21 in the Oklahoma game, is when he got his first injury as a true freshman. So he might have some left. Will he want to keep going? We'll find out. Okay, Minnie just doomed us. UCLA is our cupcake game. Minnie, there are no cupcake games. None. I didn't even call Purdue a cupcake game until it was over. Or I didn't say it before the game, just because I figure I'm just playing with fire. And sure enough, it was, I do the halftime recaps, and I titled that one "Welcome to the Shit Show." 0-0 halftime. I don't think we were looking for that against Purdue. God. and many says it is Gabe's last year, so could be wrong. Yeah, our running back room playing time choice has been a mystery to me for 15 years. There has been time. I will say this: the stretch of like Abdullah Burkhead and Roy Halu, there wasn't there was no problem there. Because you knew that it was going to be some form of those three or two. I think it was just two of them around at once usually, but yeah, and they all three finished in the top 10 rushers in Husker history. Yeah, love them both, but we got to see production. Ramir's going to get his Roger Craig touches, carries. Emmett needs to pop one or two. Yeah, I just think with Ramir, you've got to use him where he's most dangerous and put him in where they're going to throw to him. They're going to get him outside. They're going to try and get him in space. Because as I think I'm remembering correctly that he's a very good run blocker, or I'm sorry, pass blocker too. So you can put him in, and he should be in like just about all those situations, because if you don't send him out somewhere, then he stays back. You've got somebody who's tasked to covering him, scratching their head, and he's picking up the blitz. So yeah, I just don't think he's like every down type of back. Dylan is the highest rated freshman QB in the country by a long shot. Yeah, he's tearing it up. Yeah, I was going to say, hey, if you're here, you're not watching the vice presidential debate, and those are good. This is the point though where I truly wonder how many people have not decided who they're voting for. I'm not starting a political discussion. I'm just saying I think most minds are made up. A lot of them just might be, am I voting or not? But let's get off politics. Greg asked how many freshman quarterbacks are starting, and let's see. Well, we'll see what we find down the row here. Yeah, I'm okay with Dylan averaging 250 a game, passing through 5 games. Let's see. Okay, here's the answer to one of my questions. It was Tom Sorley that split with Randy Garcia. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I think they were the ones. Tell me if I'm 0 for 2 or 1 for 2. If they're the ones that went down and lost the Sun Bowl to Arizona State and Frank Kush one year, like I want to say 75-ish. Anyway, see what else we got. Does the line get better next year? Are they all on campus? Or are we going to have to buy the entire O-lineman transfer portal? Well, here's the thing. They get a year older. And if we can find somebody in the portal, absolutely. But yeah, Rule's never hidden that. He says, if I can get somebody better, I'm going to get them. And if you don't like that, then you get better too, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think, yeah, because with us, we appear to be developing our linemen again. And so what will be is a year older. It looks like Gotchel is doing okay, and on the left side in place of Corcoran, you'll have like that class with Sledge is going to be a year older. Grant Bricks is quite obviously redshirting this year. I think they want to get him north of 300. We had some good hits on offensive linemen, so I would say I expect them to keep getting a little better every year the way they are. I don't know that offensive line, unless like Illinois, you go in and get two good portal tackles, which, damn it, then that's one way to flip things a little bit. But I just want to see everybody a little bigger and stronger next year. That one really had me thinking. It's wondering where I am on that. Yeah, what was the absurd run of holding calls? Okay, and none against our opponent. Under Frost, it was like 46 quarters, wasn't it? It hasn't stopped. It has not stopped. And especially in Big Ten games, they will not call holding. I don't know if that's conference-wide. They don't call it super often on us, but they just never call it. I think when they called one on Michigan last year, and of course it was garbage time, middle of the second quarter, but I think that was like the first holding they called against Michigan in like 8 or 9 games, and it just isn't believable. Let's see. Yeah, Rule endeared himself with that whole penalty thing. Yeah, you just get sick of it after a while. Hey, You got to just overcome the rest. Well, yeah, in a normal world, I'm going, hey, don't let them bother you. Don't talk to them. It'll be fine. Just let it work itself out. It's not working itself out. Thank you, Matt Rule. Emmett needs 20 plus runs per game. Greg, we're going right up there. No one but Emmett. 25 carries a game. Let's see. Yeah, Dylan, 1,224 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, 76.4 QB rating, and both the picks were overturned catches. So there you go. Said I actually added up all the penalties on us and against opponents in Excel since we joined the Big Ten. Hell, post it. Let's see it. What is insane to me is that Michael Vick was born right-handed and had a left-handed rocket launcher so he could stiff arm when he ran. Well, that's nice to have that, just sitting there dormant in your left shoulder. Holy crow. UCLA is okay. They're in Beverly Hills. Aaron Kane, I'm looking forward to being at the UCLA game. I enjoy a good bloodbath from time to time, to be fair. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Tiger Shark's grandfather went to Georgia, so not a fan, but somewhat partial. Yeah, you grow up with it. Savannah, that's down the coastline a ways there. I've got to go back there. I went to Savannah for a day years ago, and it is gorgeous. It's also just flipping hot. Tiger Shark, yeah, he says Gabe's a junior, and so that would make this is probably his 4th year. There's a red shirt in there somewhere. I thought he was a true freshman in 21. It's updated Frost's career. I felt like the Big Ten has targeted us since the beginning, but I think it was only plus 13. Yeah, it's not so much that they go after us on volume like the Greg Burks crew did that final year in the Big 12, where those guys worked 3 of our games and we went like over 120 yards in all 3 of them. And I can even tell you that it was Texas, it was Iowa State, and it was Texas A&M. And Iowa State, you had the guy, like, for the second time, Rex Burkhead became the second Husker to have his head turned 180 degrees after Eric Crouch in the K-State game and not have it called. And it was on a touchdown against Iowa State. He is in clear view of everyone, and that dirty linebacker for Iowa State is just trying to twist his head off. And, after the play, just nothing. And and the Burks crew was also there for the A&M game when the one guy, I don't know, it's like he was trying to give Ben Cotton a proctology exam. That wasn't Vaughn, I don't think. Von Miller, was it? I don't know. But not only did he freely let this guy, and then the refs tried to say they didn't see it, and then somebody had a shot of a ref right there with a clear sight line while it was going on and had the video of it. And so, yeah, just more lies. But, yeah, and then they gave Cotton 30 yards, Cotton 15 for kicking at him because he had his hand up his ass, and then another 15 for ripping his helmet off because, yeah, and I never had a problem with that. I'd just love to see anybody else basically get violated. And no, you got to hold that in, son. But, yeah, that's the thing is they're just more surgical with it. It's like every time I'm in pretty much a mode now that anytime somebody hits open field with the ball in a close game, I'm looking around for the flag where it's going to come flying in from. Like Ramir's touchdown on the Phantom PI. Here's Ramir, beautifully designed play. It's wide open. There's no one near him. I'm looking around, and sure enough, here comes a flag behind it. And I thought it was just going to be a bullshit holding call. He's in the free. He's in the clear. Let's just call holding. We'll figure it out later. And instead, it was the Phantom pass interference call. So, but yeah, they don't. It doesn't. It's not like that, though. It's not like the Greg Burks crew, 120 yards on us, 40 on them. It's just they fly when they have the flags fly when they have to, and they're ignored the other way when it's obvious, and it gives them life. So that's I know it doesn't make sense, but I think it might for some of you. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Frost pointed out the 46 quarters holding call thing, and I think it was absurd. Let's see. 7 games to get at least 2 more wins. No repeat of last year. Yeah, I'll I'm watching myself because I don't want to hex anything, and I've just become the most superstitious bastard. So all I'll say is get us to 6 wins. That's all I care about right now. Get to 6, even if it's a mucky pinstripe bowl or something. Get 6, and then we can talk about other things. Yeah, that's why I didn't like that. Hey, we're going to be 7-0 shit. No. Get 6 is my mantra. I might have to go get a T-shirt made. Yeah, Mojo is a fickle mistress. Ramir at this point is a wheel route slot third down block guy. Yep, bingo. Exactly. Feel bad for him, but that really is his strength. He's just not built like an every down guy. And I know they've got him kind of splitting with Dowdell, but I guess what it does for me is if you put Ramir into what I was saying and what Tiger Shark Diver is saying there, if you put him into those situations regularly, he's going to have success. That is what he can be successful at. And I don't think, he's like, they don't talk about him, his draft prospects or anything. Make him look good, make us look good. Don't Wandale him up the middle anymore. And put him in situations. I mean, you're trying to do it for Carter Nelson. You're trying to do it for Ja'Cory Barney. I feel like nobody's saying like, oh God, just let these guys every down. No, do what we have to do to make him successful. Because if he's successful, Nebraska's successful. I'm worried about our center next year. Ben Scott is so underrated. Steady, no bad snaps, and thus far this year, no late hits or unsportsmanlike or personal fouls. He had a little issue with that last year. And I think I told some people that, I was at Big Ten Media Days and, he's doing his podium time, got to ask him a question or two. And the one thing I got from him is he seems like intelligent, likable kid, but he's got this little aura about him that he's playing some football because he likes to put the hurting on people. He likes to get after it. That, do I know that for certain? No, it's the vibe I get. And I got it after seeing, I thought maybe it's there anyway, because of the kind of the dumb penalties he took last year and his temper got the better of him. And I think he's gotten that under control, but I just got that vibe from him. He just kind of has that look like he wants to be out there smashing the pads. Next year will be, I think right now, Sam Sledge from here in town is the backup. He's listed as the backup. He'll be a third-year sophomore, and I think he's up to like 305, 300, 305, something like that. So I don't know. We'll see. His dad, Bob, I went to school with his dad, Bob Sledge, who I believe was all Big 8 tackle, guard, tackle. I think tackle, guard. Can't remember, but if he's anything like his dad, he might be ready next year. His dad was a very, very good guy, very dedicated student. Like, this is a guy who never missed a class. Can't say the same about myself. I think he was he if he wasn't an academic All-American, he was probably academic All Big 8. If Sam Sledge can carry on that legacy, we will be fine at center. So we'll see. I just haven't seen him play yet. What else we got? Yeah, Sledge. Yeah, there he goes. I answered a question that somebody answers. I love that though. Sledge looks like our center next year. As a Millard North guy, it's hard for me to trust a Creighton prep guy. Hey, John Bullock's a prep guy. And off to pick up the kids. I love that Minnie spends time with us before she heads out and grabs her daughter. Here we go. James Boardman beat North Carolina in the Liberty Bowl in 77. I do remember that. Osborne was told by a regent that he would have been fired if he lost that game. And gee, we wonder why after 78 was it that he was considering going to Colorado. Jesus. That place was psychotic when Osborne's first few years, because he couldn't beat Oklahoma, and he was going like 9-2, 10-1 every year, and it was just like, this guy's got to go. And it was really interesting, like down the road to read where Bob Devaney, because apparently Bob Devaney pissed off some of his drinking buddies something fierce when he hired Osborne. If I'm remembering this right, it was Warren Powers and then Jim, who went to Iowa State. Jim, I'm blanking on his last name. Anyway, they had put Walden. I think it was Jim Walden. they had put in like the bar time with Bob, and then he hires Osborne. He hires the the religious nerd from Hastings, who he played for the 49ers, so he wasn't just some nerd. But he said, he goes, well, here's why I did it. He goes, in 68, or after 68, they were calling for my head, and they only averaged like 15, 16 points a game. So he goes, I made that kid my offensive coordinator, and we averaged 27 the next year, and then the next year averaged 41 a game and won the national title. And he's like, so you asked me why I hired him. He goes, that kid saved my job. He goes, I was a year from getting fired, and instead I got two national titles because I made him offensive coordinator. So, and I think Osborne was the one who also discovered weightlift guy Boyd Epley. And what happened there, that was, if you've never heard that story, the reason the weightlifting blew up was Osborne was kind of in charge of dealing with the injured players, and Epley was like, hey, I can help rehab them. And so Osborne would send those guys to Epley, and Devaney noticed these guys were coming off injuries, kicking the shit out of everybody because Epley was like rehabbing the injuries, but then having them pump the iron. And next thing you know, hey, here's the weight room, here's the Husker power, and all because he was because injured guys were coming back just ripped, I guess. I'm probably speeding that up a little, but I think that was the gist of it. Emmett Johnson's Jug Band Christmas in theaters early 24. Let's see. Okay, I think Tiger is I think Tiger's picking our wins for the rest of the year. Rutgers, Indiana, UCLA, Wisconsin is doable. I think we're going to get Iowa. And I know I was scoring a few more points this year. I mean, it would have been impossible to score less. I still don't think it's we'll see how that offense does here in Big Ten play. But we're going to be throwing a lot of offense at them too. They're like, hey, what a great defense they had. They held us to 10. I'm like, I think last year Central could have held us to 10. That offense was just in free fall. But I don't know if we're going to get Rutgers and Indiana. I'd love to see it. But right now, just get me to 6. I can't believe I just did that. Stop it. You're a bad influence. Let's see. Says Hartzog seems a little too small in zone space as a safety. Yeah, I don't think we faced a really good passing attack, but he was getting burned occasionally last year. But then he makes plays occasionally. I've got mixed feelings on him, and I don't know if we have anybody better. But part of that's going to be he's going to give one up every now and then. So I don't know. Great Corner has 2 picks, but some of his stuff baffles me. Yeah, I think that's Hartzog. Yep, Jim Walden. Thanks, I remembered it. I love having Boardman here. I love having people who can get to Google when I can't. I thought it was so hilarious when Rule said they canceled practice to all media, but nobody would tell Tom Osborne to leave. Who would? Yeah, I don't think Osborne counts. Matt Rule has made it very clear that if Tom wants to hang around, he loves to hear what he has to say about football. And why wouldn't you? I still remember Urban Meyer, and I believe this was when Chris Leak, it was just prior to Tebow becoming quarterback, but Chris Leak was quarterback, and they were getting ready to win national championship. And he basically said that all of his blocking schemes, it's like he says we might be in the shotgun running some spread, and starting it up out of the backfield. But he said my blocking schemes are directly stolen from the 90s Nebraska teams. Says he's like, they don't work just against the run. And yeah, he's like, yeah, absolutely. I studied them to death, and we tried to copy it for their offense. And so, yeah, I don't get, just don't get into stadium drinking with him. my thoughts on that, and my thoughts and Tom's thoughts on that are 180 degrees apart. But no, you want to come talk some offensive scheming, Ozzy? I got a half hour for you or more if you want. George Darlington seems to hang around a lot too. He seems to enjoy it. And he seems to be pretty grateful that they like his company and like hearing from him, which is great. It was just the goofiest thing when I think it was when Peterson was there, and it's like former players, former coaches can fuck off, but hey, Larry the Cable Guy and Clarence Thomas and that kind of shit is like we want celebrities on the sideline. You can make both work, but yeah, it's like no, ex players and coaches. This is working. We work here. Shut up, Peterson. Let's see. I forgot about Iowa. That would be 10 wins. Yeah, Aaron Kane. I'm a little concerned about Indiana. We'll like I said, we'll get into them more next week because I don't know who they're playing yet this weekend. I just glanced to see what their record was. But yeah, they're playing a better brand of ball. And like I said, now they've crept into the rankings. I guess they took Illinois' spot. Excuse me. Yeah, we'll talk more next week there. And then I forgot about Iowa. That would be 10 wins. Yeah, Iowa. Oh, that was funny paraphrasing. Yeah, well, I felt like they needed to focus, so we closed practice to media. Huh? Oh, well, Tom was there. Duh. That's pretty good. Which is weird because I thought cut blocks are banned now, but Purdue got called for a cut block too. Are they allowed, or is it they're allowed right on the line? I don't know. When a flag flies, someone explains it again, and I figure it out. I never really get around during the week to looking up all the rules. And that appears to be about it. Well, tell you what, it's an hour 15. I felt like we had a lot to kind of peel back and talk about after Purdue. I thought we did that. Hey, I want to remind everybody. I mean to do this, and I'm really more into sports than knowing how to pump my core nation and everybody here. So I want to remind everybody, Greg, who is here with us tonight, remember to catch his pod on Thursdays at 8, the 5 Heart. Remember to catch Monday Night Therapy with John and Todd on Mondays, and usually they'll have a guest or two. I had 2 guests planned this week, and they both quit on me today. Today just stunk. Thank you guys for your participation and comments. I love it, and we'll have at least one next week because she's not going to quit on me again, or I'll strangle her to death. And I see her at family outings. Let's see. I couldn't put it better myself. We had a good time and accomplished nothing. Hey, our recommendations are out there. If you want to go undefeated, Matt Rule, we lay the groundwork every week. We are the second guessing kings, and we're going to tell you how to get it done. We're there for you, buddy. We're there for you. But then just to let you know because most of what I do during the week is writing. I start with I'll do a how to watch on Thursday or Friday with just general game info, and if I get some fun facts, I'll throw those in there. I do a pregame. When home games, I'm in the box. I'm in the press box, and home or road, I'm doing a pregame. I'm doing a halftime recap write up, and then I'll do the story after the game, the game recap afterwards, and then I always try to shoot for Tuesdays. I'm just going to right now say it's Wednesdays and occasionally Thursday. My weekly column is called the 24-hour rule. And I'm just going to write whatever comes into my head that week that's bugging me, making me interested, having me curious, whatever. And I'll dive into that a little. Last week I dove into the defense, talked about things like, was the strength of our opponents. Did that somehow help vault us into the top 15? And came away going, yes, because the best defense we played last year was number 62. 62 and 65 are the only two in the upper half of Division I offensive yards per game, and they barely were in there. And I think we had 4 of the bottom 10. And so we were playing not very good offense. Even Michigan's offense wasn't that great. Michigan's yards per game I think they were like 75th or something. Because Harbaugh just liked to pound the old ball and let the defense beat the shit out of people, and and fun to do when you knew it was coming. Am I right? But anyway, so that's what I do during the week, and I'll be here next Tuesday, and we will have a theme. We will have an opening theme. So let's check before we say our good nights and go Big Reds. Let's check one last time here. Kids are assholes. Got two of my own. Can't agree more. Drew Miley, if you're watching, you know I'm kidding, sort of. The Rutgers guy was missing last night. Oh, on John, yeah, because I thought John, he did. I was even on the messaging where he responded, say he'd come in. Damn. Andy, look over there. Siri, order pot. Nope, she didn't come on. I'd bet money Andy's in IT like me and John. You would lose that bet, sir. Actually, I'm in nothing right now. I am currently not working and trying to decide if I want to call it a career, and I'm taking a little time to do it. But before that, for the last 10 years anyway, I was a mortgage underwriter, and I worked the last 21 years with a credit union, where I've been a loan officer, then a mortgage underwriter, and enjoyed that. But nope, I love playing around with it, sure. But when you guys start talking that techie nerd language, I'm just like, okay, I feel sufficiently stupid now. Please explain it to me in words I'll understand. Or we all got a bunch of tech terms. I love it though. Without the tech guys, without the tech guys, my life would be much tougher. What did Purdue have for the press box buffet? Okay, I'm not on the road. I'm only at the home games. I can't. They talked about it last year. Some of the guys on the On3 site, Nebraska site, and I thought they liked Purdue's. They said the most miserable press box experience was at Colorado. They said that it's just kind of treated like shit. And for food, they would literally give them a ticket to walk all the way or go all the way down to the vendors or whatever, and then you could get a hot dog and chips from the vendor for free with that ticket. Like, wow. And so what was funny was we actually had a couple of guys come in from SB Nation's Colorado site, let them know they were coming. We said, yeah, come hang with us. We'll take care of you. And so, we toddled around and we're talking with them and drinking with them. And they were saying like they didn't get a meal in Nebraska's box. And I'm like, I started laughing and I was like, okay, I read an article. I don't know if it's just because it's limited. They limit the number or something. It might be innocuous, but I said, it sure as hell sounds like, and they said they got a thing that they could go get something from the vendors and concessions. And I was just cracking up. I said, guys, I think they're taking revenge on you for the shitty way they treated like visiting press at their place. And here's hot dog and chip. Here's hot dog and chip money, son, go run, get it. And so I said, that might be your boys back home fault. And this is a little shot across the bow. Let's see I'm going to read that one in a minute, Aaron. But no, the food at the press box in Lincoln's pretty solid. The best so far was they made a really good pork tenderloin and then like garlic buttered mashed potatoes that was not lunch line quality at all. It was. I went back for a little more that day, but yeah, most time it's pretty good. I think we've had barbecued beef, chicken parm, chicken, like some chicken marsala maybe with some sort of tomatoey sauce on it. It's good stuff. They take care of us there. Let's see. Okay, here's one, Aaron. Andy reads comment and then has momentary panic and checks to see if Siri's turned on. Well, I said Siri. That's why I turned to look, because when I must have said something, I don't know what it was. If I said something that sounded like it, and all of a sudden she's yelling at me. It's like, and it's not shutting up. And I'm like, good God. Siri wants me in those gummies bad. Purdue probably had cold hot dogs and burnt little. That's what I'm waiting for. I figured that'd be the ultimate shit food, is if you went somewhere and there's that crock pot full of little smokies with the sick sweet barbecue sauce. I'm not a sweet barbecue sauce guy, so no, no little smokies if you're listening. Pitt Snipe demands I read this out loud. Do y'all think Minnie wears her wig to pick up the kids? All right. And on that note, guys, once again, thanks very much. Appreciate the participation. I hope you guys are having fun with it because if you see me, I'm laughing a lot. I'm enjoying this. Anybody who's out there watching and not participating in the comments, please feel free to jump in. If I see somebody's name I haven't seen up there before, I'll try and give you a howdy and welcome you aboard. But don't be shy. I mean, all we're gonna do is make fun of you. No, I'm just kidding. Of course we will. So that's it. That's all we got this week. We'll see. We'll be in each other's hearts and minds here at 3:00 on. Thank God, not fucking Peacock on FS1. I will be in Lincoln, and this. Everything seems to indicate this will be a close game. Do we break our one score loss streak this week? And do we break our not beating a ranked team next week? Who knows? I don't. But love all of you. Go Big Red. See you next week.